Hello everyone, this is Dennis at Boulder Sounds. Welcome to the video demo of the Juilliard Harmonium, which is part of the Harmoniums of the Opera sample library. The Harmoniums of the Opera sample library consists of two harmoniums. One is an electric harmonium owned by the Metropolitan Opera, and this is an acoustic harmonium owned by the Juilliard School. This particular harmonium is a foot-pumped harmonium. It only has one stop. It was made in the 1840s and it was recently refurbished, or I should say restored, right before the sampling session. So it sounded absolutely beautiful and in pristine condition. So I'd like to point out a couple features that are important. One is hover over mouse help. So in your upper left-hand corner here in contact, it says Info. Make sure that's highlighted. If it's grayed out, click on it. And then you'll notice if you point at any knob on the screen or any button, it'll tell you down here in the left-hand corner where you see the icon I, it tells you down here what that particular knob or button does. So it's a very useful, quick online manual for you to refer to. Also, another very useful feature to know about contact is if you want to control any of the knobs with a continuous controller number. The way you do it, for example, on the Mac is you hold down the control key, and you see here on the amplitude envelope section, if I hold down the control key and click on the attack knob, it says learn MIDI CC number, and then all I have to do is move my controller, whatever it may be. In this case, I'm using the expression pedal, which is controller number 11, and you can see it's learned that now. So my minimum value I have it set to is 39 milliseconds, so this is pretty fast. And the maximum is 200 milliseconds for a much slower attack. And then if you want to reset that controller to that knob, you just control click again and remove MIDI automation, and it's set. On the PC, it is right click to learn the MIDI CC. And if you want to reset things back to their default value, you do control click on the PC or command click on the Mac. So I hold down the command key, click on the attack key, and it goes right back to the default setting, which is 100 milliseconds. Another useful feature is in the lower right-hand corner here, you see a drop-down menu that says Main Page, and below that it says About Page. You can choose that, and then you have a nice online manual that you can scroll through to read about the particular tab that you're on. So right now I'm on the instrument page, and you can have an online menu for help with the Effects tab, as well as the Setting tab. Okay, so starting with the instrument page, you'll notice we have a heading that says Stop Settings, and we have two stops. The first stop is the original stop that the harmonium offered. The second stop is an octave higher, and that was not on the harmonium, so we created that artificially. So you can just choose the stops in a number of ways. One, just simply by clicking on a stop. So for example, here's just stop 1, which is the default setting. And then I turn on stop 2. And you always have to have one stop engaged, so I could just have stop 2 only. So there's the higher octave. So I'll go back to stop 1. Now, notice below the stop columns, or excuse me, the stop buttons, we have filters that have been set up. So we have a choice of a low pass, a high pass filter. You can adjust the filter in volume for each stop individually. So just doing this, you can create lots of different tonal colors. So one way to work with it, obviously, is just you can turn, for example, if I want to turn on the low pass filter for stop 1, I'm just going to click on that knob. And as you can see, the sound as I went counterclockwise got darker. So So you can make some very quick adjustments that way to the sound. The high pass filter would be just the opposite. It's going to roll off the low end. Give you a little bit more of a nasal quality. Now the really cool thing about this is once you make these various stop settings and engage the filters, you can make your own presets. And so made for you in advance are some presets right here on the key switch keys labeled in green. So Bo Clausen has made these, and here's the initial preset. So that's just stop 1. Here's a slightly different setting. That one's got a little bit more nasal quality to it. Here's using both stops. So, very useful feature. That's another preset. Here's the next one. And the last one, using both stops. So these can be triggered either by clicking with the mouse, or you can, on your MIDI controller, press the appropriate key switch, and you can change these in real time as you play. Another thing you can do with these key switches that are assigned to the different stop presets is you can make your own custom assignments on the setting page, and I'll get to that later. So if you don't want these particular key switches located here, we could move them down the keyboard a ways, just a few keys or an octave, whatever works for your particular purpose, and you can customize it to the way you'd like it laid out very easily. Also, one thing I forgot to mention is on the turning the stops on and off, you can control those with a MIDI CC as well. So you could, like on the Mac, do control, click on the button, and have it learn that particular controller. So that's another way just to easily turn the stops on and off via continuous controllers if you wish to do that. Okay, at the bottom of the stop settings we have amplitude envelope heading. We can change the attack to a slower attack. Or we can increase the attack to a very quick attack. But the default setting is at 100 milliseconds, which is a nice compromise between a slow and fast attack. Okay, so now once you've created some of your own presets using the various filter settings and volume balancing, etc., you can save those presets in this menu, and you can also save an entire bank of presets, 1 through 8, give them a unique name, and then create another bank. You can have numerous banks and then load them all very quickly. A very handy feature. Also, another nice feature we've added, which was not available on the original Harmonium, is velocity control. So right now this button says velocity off. It will ignore incoming velocity messages. The Harmonium originally was not a velocity sensitive instrument. However, if you click on this button and you want velocity response, you can play something, for example, very soft in the left hand, and then play stronger in the right hand and have it really sing out. So that's very useful to have. If you want to adjust the velocity setting, you can do that on the settings page. And you see right here it says velocity is set at 50%. I'll explain that a little bit later. and show that to you quickly. So now below the velocity button, we have pump control. And it's a drop-down menu. It defaults to manual pump. You can turn the pump off or auto pump. And as you can see in the harmonium picture, this is the pedal here at the bottom of the keyboard that you would pump it with, which gives it that kind of breathing quality that makes the sound darker and brighter and a little louder and a little softer. So ideally, you want to be able to control that to make it sound realistic. So if I choose manual pump, right now the manual pump is routed to my modulation wheel. And just to give you an idea what it sounds like. So if you're very good with working pedals, that's probably the way to go. You'll be able to control the timing of the pumping. However, if you're not good at pedals, which I'm not good at, you can change this to auto pump. So now an LFO is controlling it. So that gives you that kind of breathing effect, but it's a little bit more regular than using a pedal. However, you can control that on the settings page. You can control the speed with a continuous controller, and you can also change the speed base here, and I'll show that to you just a little bit later. And below that we have an amount control for the amount of pumping. Right now it's set at -85%. Listen to what happens if I move it up all the way. So that's an example of extreme pumping effect. And if I turn it all the way counterclockwise, basically non-existent. So it's up to you to choose how much pumping effect you want. So I think the default is a nice setting, -85%. Also on the main page we have very quick access to the effects being turned on and off. And again, you could assign that to various controllers. This is just a convenience, so you can very quickly turn an effect on and off without having to go to its respective effect editing page on this tab. Okay, so now onto the settings page. So you click on the settings tab, and this section says key switches, and these are key switch assignments for the various presets. So we have them assigned to keys A through E, down here at the left-hand part of the keyboard in green. However, if I want to move this preset a little more out of the way, what I do is I just click on the Learn Preset 1 button, and then I can click on a key. And you can see that preset has moved from the A down to the F. So you can do that with any of the presets and arrange them in whatever order you prefer. If you want to get them a little bit out of the way of the main part of the harmonium, in case you might hit one by accident, you have the option of doing that. Okay, so now in the keyboard column we have a drop-down menu a button that says Player Perspective, and if you click on that it toggles to Public Perspective. So when you have public perspective, you're hearing the instrument as though you're sitting in the audience. Player perspective, you get the instrument as though you're sitting at the keyboard playing, with the bass notes off to the left. The spread control below it tells you how wide the panning image is going to be for the keyboard. So if I make it 100%, it's going to be very off to the left for low notes. And as I go up, we're going to go to the right. If I turn it the other way, there's really no spreading happening at all. and the default setting on that is 50%. The next column is labeled stereo field. Here we can choose a very wide, exaggerated stereo spread. So now we have a column that says set speed continuous control number. And as you can see, I've set this dial to, this knob to number 11, which is my expression pedal. And I want to control the speed of the auto pump. So I go back to instrument, the drop down menu, I change it to auto pump, go back to the settings, and you'll notice I'm going to move my expression pedal and the speed of the auto pumping will change. And then next to that we have a speed bass. So if I want that to be, the ratio to be slower, I can lower that number, and I'll do the same thing now. Or conversely, bring it way up. It'll be kind of ridiculous, but so you can control all those aspects of the pumping speed with continuous controllers when using the auto pump. So the auto pump is not really all that robotic sounding. And now below that we have set pump CC number. And the pump CC number is set to number 1, which is the mod wheel. So if I want my expression pedal to control it, I change it to number 11. And this is for the manual pumping. I go back to the instrument page and make sure in the pump drop-down menu I've chosen manual pump. And then what will happen is I'll just pump it a little bit with my pedal. So that was pedal pumping rather than modulation wheel pumping. That way you have two hands free, available for thicker textures. And now we're going to move on to the effects page. And as you can see, you have your various effects buttons here on the right. And right now I'm on the space on page. Space on button. And then if you click on this drop-down menu, we have these various 18 choices of different IR convolution reverbs. If you don't want to use the IR convolution reverbs, you have a drop-down menu here which you can change to reverb, which uses Contact's algorithmic reverb, which is a bit more CPU efficient. But for right now, I'll stay on the space page. So we can choose what space we want to use. We can choose the size, and the wet-dry control is under the amount knob. And just to give you a little idea what this sounds like from low range to high range, it's a 5-octave instrument, starts on low F. So it's got that very kind of bright, reedy, accordion-like quality to it. Thanks very much for viewing the demo, and when you have a chance, please check out the Metropolitan Opera electric harmonium from the Harmoniums of the Opera collection. This is Dennis at Boulder Sounds, wishing you the best.